Hey guys, how you doing? Adjust this. Just adjust this. How's that? I don't know. Is that all right? Hi. Okay. Happy Thursday. Woo. Took me a minute. How you guys doing? So, how's your summer going so far? How is your summer going so far? I haven't really had much of one yet. I have not had any summer yet, actually, other than it's been kind of warm. But I'm in Las Vegas, and so it was like 99 today. So it really wasn't that hot because, when I moved here, everybody said, oh my gosh, it's going to be so hot. It's going to be the hottest time ever in the summer. It's 120 and all that kind of stuff. And I just really haven't experienced that too much, although I am working inside in air conditioning all day. So, and it is warm sometimes, but anyway, I'm kind of enjoying it. Today actually was kind of a nice cool morning and had a good walk with the dog. So how are you guys? Tell me who's here. Who is chiming in here with me today? I wanted to kind of come on a little bit more regularly, like I used to, as much as I can. But it's sometimes kind of tough to do that. So I will not be here next week. I have a conflict with work, so I won't be able to make it, and I'm going to try really hard the following week to make it. But I have a lot of travel going on right now in my work, and so I have a lot of locations that I'm going to, and so it's kind of taking me on the road. So I can't always make it here on Thursday. Oh boy, here we go. What is this? We're doing those stars again? What's going on with that? Anyway, don't know what that is. Is that stars? I don't know what that is. I'm really such a dinosaur. So let me just see who's here. We're going to have a fun convo tonight. Hey, Melissa. Hello, beautiful Sandy. Hi, Keisha. Hi, Evie. And Miss Chris, how are you? Am I seeing you tomorrow? Are you on my calendar tomorrow? Hi, Lori. Hi, Lisa. Hey, Kat, how's it going? Miss Jennifer, how are you doing, you entrepreneur? So Jennifer has started her own business. So let's give a shout out for Jennifer. She's been a warrior and started her own business. So isn't that amazing? Want to always support those beautiful women going out there hustling. Congrats, Jennifer. Hi, Kristen. Hi, Arlene. Hey, Kathy. How are ya? Let's see what you guys do. It's hot, Keisha says. Yeah. Hey, Paula. Hi, Patty. How are you? Hey, Heidi. Hello, everybody. Oh, yeah. Okay, the stars. That's the stars that makes that noise. Okay, gotcha. Jennifer. Hello. Hey, Sally. How are you? Let's see, Miss Chris. Yes, see you tomorrow. Can't wait. Okay, wonderful. I thought I saw you on my calendar for yesterday. For tomorrow. So wonderful. So we're going to do like a little chat. I know that we spoke last week and we talked a little bit about mediumship. And, there's always so many things to kind of talk about, and people have wonderful questions and dialogue. And I love that you all interact. I love, love, love that. I love that you interact. I love that you want to, have these kind of conversations. I have loved ones in the spirit world. Many of you have loved ones in the spirit world. And, when we have loved ones in the spirit world, we always are a bit connected there, because our heart is there. And so we often, want to kind of keep dialogue going. So I'm really one that wants to so much just educate, you guys on, mediumship and what it's about. And, not from necessarily a medium's perspective always, but just from that loving place. So tonight I'm going to kind of just really kind of do this live through questions and answers. But before we kind of get going, so if you guys have any questions for me, post them. There are some from last week I didn't get to because it went long last week, didn't it? I just chatted and chatted and chatted. And sometimes I wonder, am I just chatting your ear off and you're like, oh, It's getting late. But I just, when I'm passionate about something and, I can really just get going. Yeah. So anyway, post comments if you have any in the comment section. Post any questions that you have in regards to mediumship. I thought it might be fun too. There's, sometimes a lot of you guys ask like, what do our loved ones do in the spirit world? And I had an experience where I actually went to the spirit world where my guides took me there. That I remember it only happened once, but I know that it's happened many times. I really think that a lot of us travel to the spirit world as we sleep. There's been many times I have awoken from the middle of the night where I felt like I just landed from somewhere else. But one particular time that I absolutely was in the spirit world where they kind of showed me that. But I think we all kind of go there. I think that we're visiting with our loved ones more often than we realize. I think that they often come to us when we are asleep, where we are the most relaxed, where we are the most receptive, where we aren't putting up barriers and blocks or fear or, any of those things. And, I think that our loved ones visit with us a lot and we visit with them a lot. And I just think we don't always remember it. But sometimes we do, don't we? Sometimes we have these experiences in the middle of the night that are kind of visitations. And I remember doing a Facebook Live about that, if you guys remember. If you guys didn't see my Facebook Live on dreams and visitations, then I recommend you go to my website. I have a video page on my website, and there's lots of different topics that I talked about. I believe it's under teachings and conversations under my video page. So there's different topics that I've spoken about. But tonight, before we get going, I just want to kind of say, let me just see here. Oh yeah, I want to talk a minute, just like, like how when I come on and I come live and I try to kind of give a variety of different things for you guys. I like to always come out and hang out with you, but I always want to kind of mix it up a little bit and do different things. So I do like short stories and where I share stories of readings. I know you guys love that. I do teachings from the guides where we get to get some guidance and inspiration from them, and so I always like to share those with you. I come on and try to educate you a little bit and talk about things that I know. I never pretend to know it all. I don't know it all, but I like to always share what I have learned through this work, and also I like to kind of come on and just talk about different things. And so I thought it might be kind of fun. So the next live I come on, the next time I come on, I thought it'd be fun to kind of add something kind of to the library of the things that I do when I go live. And you know how I love quotes so much, and you know how I'm always wanting to share quotes because it's been such a big part of my life, quotes, since I was a young girl. And I love sharing them because I really do find them to be motivational and inspirational, and they kind of get you thinking and get your headspace. Do you guys agree? Like quotes can do that. They kind of get your headspace in the right area. You kind of gives you something to think about, kind of inspires you a little bit in certain topics. I find quotes to be that way for me. Are they that way for you? Let me know. Tell me what you think about that. Let me just see. Hey, Lorraine. Hey, Kat. I'm so happy to be here tonight. I haven't been on in a while, but T-ball is over. Oh, God. I remember those days. Other than having COVID again and being fully vaccinated, I'm great. Oh, geez. So you got vaccinated and you got COVID? So it sounds like you had COVID again. So you've had COVID once before. So let me just ask you quickly, Kat. Was the second time having COVID, because people might want to know, people who have been vaccinated, when you got COVID the second time, was it less severe than the first time? Was it a different experience the second time than the first time when you had COVID? Love to know that. I'm sure many of us on tonight would maybe like to know that. So please share your experience with all of us here because we are curious. And I hope you're feeling good now. Hi, Kelly. Hello, Kathy. How are you, sweetheart? Hi, Jeannie. Kathy says hi to Lorraine. I love how you guys are knowing each other. Kat Kramer. Hi, Monica. It's been a while since I've caught you live. Yeah, I've been kind of on and then off and then on and then off a little bit. It's just been kind of that year. But I'm glad to see you here tonight. Thank you for joining. Anne says, yes, quotes are helpful like mantras. Exactly. I often use them a lot in my life as mantras, actually. And sometimes when I post on my page, I'll say something, today's mantra, right? Because I always think, I'm a big believer that we should always start our day with something positive. And that's why I have my coffee mugs. As you know, I post a lot of those. I have so many coffee mugs. And I always like to start my day with my coffee, of course. And I always like that coffee mug to be inspirational. And then I always pull a few quotes in the morning to kind of get my energy lifted and in the right place, you see. And so I walk my dog in the morning early to kind of get that good vibe of nature. So, I think we have a responsibility to ourselves to try to do what we can to kind of lift our own spirit, lift our own vibration, get us in the right energetic place to start our day. Would you agree? I certainly like to live my life that way. I always like to help my clients do those things as well. And obviously when I come on live, I always hope I'm adding some value in some way to some of you, even if it's just a little bit. So let's see where we are. Kathy asked, does spirit still have emotions in heaven? I told my son, I hope my dad is proud of me. And he said emotions are tied to our brains. And since we don't keep our brains when we die, spirits don't have emotions. Not true. Actually, the spirit world work with my emotional system, Kathy. And so spirit will work with our different sensory systems, and emotions is one of them. So absolutely not, because the spirit world, oftentimes loved ones that'll step in and give readings with me, they will press upon me certain emotions that will absolutely bring tears like coming and just pouring out of me. And that is their love, their emotion being expressed to my client, but it's going through me, so I feel it. So emotions are about feelings, right? And so I have to feel those emotions that loved ones give me for my clients. And they use your emotional system in mediumship. And there's something I'm going to talk about tonight too in regards to, questions that we had from last week that I didn't answer this week, and we'll get to it. But it's also about ways that your loved ones communicate with you. So absolutely, they have emotions. Of course, they have emotions. They're giving you emotions through the readings, you see. Okay, so yeah. So no disrespect to your son, but I don't agree with him. Okay, Keisha, my grandma always visits me in my dreams. I ask her, did all the others make it to heaven, and were they all right? And she said, yes, they are all right. I lost a friend in an accident, and I've had a few mediums tell me he and I are spiritually connected. That makes sense because I've had many encounters from him. I think that you are all, listen, here's the thing. We are spiritually connected to many on the other side. Whenever we have a relationship that was meaningful in our life, we are spiritually connected to that person. Of course. Now, it's just like you can have love for somebody in life and you can have love for another person in life, but you love them a little bit different, right? But it's still love, but how you love is a little bit different. How you love your son might be different than the way you love your husband, or different than the way you love your best friend of 20 years or your mother, So love can show up in a lot of different ways, but when there's love, there is a connection. And when we have a deeper union together, there's always that connection as well. So you have connections with many people on the other side, not just who you would necessarily think about. When I give readings, sometimes people come in from the past. It's like from a blast from the past, and it's like people are like blown away. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe that person came in. But they're connected to you too, because you had a relationship with them in your life in some degree, and so there's still that connection. So make sense? Okay. Also want to ask you, is there any topics you would like me to speak about on Facebook Live? Is there anything that you guys have that you would like? Is there any type of topics that you would be interested in knowing more about? A topic that you would be of interest in that maybe I could share with you guys on a live? I'm happy to look at that. So I ask you guys from time to time. And it's been a while since I've asked you. So maybe if you guys do, post it in the comments for me. Hey, Jade, do you believe in cord cutting? To me, cord cutting is an intention setting, So what Jade is speaking about, she's talking about cord cutting. Like if you want to cut a cord from a connection with somebody, can you do that? And really what it is, it's just like in your mind, you're kind of creating this cord and you're seeing it attached to that person. And then you cut the cord. And then it's kind of like, it's no different really than if you have a balloon. I just did this in one of my readings today. When we needed to release something, I said, just put the name on the balloon and then hold it really tight and then set it free. And that's an intention also, right? So cord cutting, release it with the balloon. Some people write things on paper and then they put it, to burn and release it that way. Those are all intentions. So it's all different ways of doing an intention setting exercise to, help you with whatever that topic would be. But whatever feels good and resonates to you is fine. I'm not a big cord cutter. That's not my thing. But I'm a very practical girl too. I don't get into a lot of, I don't really do any of the cord cutting, but I do believe very much in intention. So I just do it that way. I just set whatever intent that resonates with me. So if is it the balloon, or is it writing on the paper and setting it free with, putting it on fire and putting it away? Is it cord cutting? It's none of it's wrong. It's whatever works for you, but it's really an intention setting, and it's a releasing, and it's an intention setting to release. Yeah, hope that makes sense. Let's see, what else? Keisha says, that's true. I never thought of it that way. Yes. Hi, Janie. How are you? Let's see. Melissa Potts. My grandmother always seems to be cooking on the other side and is with her family. She was Italian, so it's true they continue to do what they loved in the physical world. Question mark? Yes. And I'm going to get to that right now, actually. Ooh, spirit's coming in. Yeah. So sometimes people ask, what are they doing in the spirit world? What are our loved ones doing in the spirit world? And, I've had one experience, as I mentioned, being in the spirit world, but, for a little visit, and they were all having a party. It was like just tons and tons of people in this big dome-shaped room, and they all knew each other, and they all knew me, and they were all dressed in white, and there was music and laughter, and everybody was in sync with one another. That's what I remember from that experience, that I take from that. But, I can only share with you what I've learned from the spirit world. And when I say what I've learned from the spirit world, I mean, yes, my guides, but I also mean your loved ones, because through all the readings that I give, and every reading is so different and they talk about different things, sometimes they talk about what they're doing in the spirit world. And I had, and to answer Melissa's question, because it's a very good one, because she said, which is just interesting and funny how spirit comes in right after I read this. Is it true they continue to do what they loved in the physical world? 1,000%. Every single time. So here's an example, Melissa, and for all of you. So when we have love, so one time I gave a reading, and I had this guy come in. He was a brother-in-law for somebody who was sitting with me. And he started speaking about what he did for a career. He told me he was a detective. The lady said, absolutely he was, blah, blah, blah. And he talked about how he had a case in physical world when he was still here and present and alive here, that he had this case that never got solved. That the case never got solved at all, and it's still this unknown. And he said that in the spirit world, he was still working on that case, and that he was working on other cases in the spirit world, from the spirit world for the physical world. So even him being in the spiritual world, he was such a devoted detective. He won awards and, got a lot of accolades for his work. He took it very serious, and this is all that came into the reading. But then he said that in the spirit world, he was actually still working on that one particular case that never got solved before he passed away. And so he in the spirit world was still working on trying to get resolution for that and for that family, and on other cases as well. And so here's a man who was very passionate about being a detective, got high accolades for doing it, was recognized for his work in that field. And he comes in from the spirit world talking about his love of it, and then how he's still doing it. And I thought, oh, well, isn't that interesting? And then I had a mom that came in, and she showed me her beautiful flower garden and how she was just surrounded by just a meadow of garden, but I knew it was in her backyard in the spirit world. And she was planting, and she was in the garden, and she was really enjoying it. And she told me that this was her garden in the spirit world, and she was planting flowers, and she was in this garden, and they were the most vibrant colors, and like there must have been 50 or 60 shades of color in that garden that she showed me. It was like, wow. And her daughter had said how her mother loved a garden. She loved flowers and she loved gardens and she always wished she had one. And this mom came in from the spirit world to say she's now planting in the garden, doing what she always loved and enjoyed. She loved botanical gardens and she loved everybody's garden, always wanted to sit outside in the gardens. And she always wanted her own. And in the spirit world, she now has it. And she was laid herself right in the middle of all of these flowers. And how lovely is that for her daughter to know that, you see? There was, let me just see here, there was a son that came in, and he made me aware that he really loved working with children and that he loved working with children. There was a time in his life where he worked at a camp with kids in the summertime. And his mother says, yes, absolutely. He absolutely did that. He loved children. And I said, he just resonated really well with them. And he tells me in the spirit world, he makes me aware that he's surrounded with many, many kids who have had a lot of trauma in the physical life. And he's helping the kids work through that in the spirit world. And the mom was like really blown away by that, because in life, he was that kid that was just really patient with the kids, and he seemed to attract children in the physical world that were very needed a friend, or needed a safe space, or things like that. And so here he was in the spirit world, coming in, letting his mother know that he's around kids. He's actually working in this type of a camp, but it wasn't, he didn't say camp, but in this with all the children, and helping them heal through trauma as they transitioned into the spirit world. So, and the mom just found that to be amazing and so on point, because that's really who her son was. And he loved doing that. He loved working at the camps and working with the kids, and he would come home and tell stories about that. And so I thought that was interesting, and that was just something he was really passionate about, and so that was another kind of situation. And then there was, let me see if I made like a note on that, because there's been so many. Oh yeah, I had a girl come in who was like who was a niece to somebody I was sitting with, and she made me aware that she used to rescue dogs and rescue animals, and that she was really into like wounding, like she was really into helping animals who were wounded, not necessarily like just rescue, but they were injured rescue dogs, and she would come every day and like bandage them and help them and do things like that with them, and as she showed me herself in the spirit world, she surrounded me with all of these animals, you see. One had a bandage, one was missing an ear, one was all stuff, and she was kind of in the center of all of them. And what I felt from her was she was giving energy of healing to these animals. They were dogs and cats and, I think there was a donkey, there was like, different ones. And her mom verified that this is, her aunt verified that this was exactly how her niece was. And they actually had a rescue named after her because of it. So she's back in the spirit world doing those things. So let's see, Brenda. I've been reading a lot about the travel of life after death. Excellent books. Some reference an in-between area, and a friend of mine had a fellow that was stuck in the Civil War, he said. He helped him move over using gray sage. Do you have any thoughts about that? Okay, so, we have like, people sometimes ask like, what's a ghost and what's a spirit person, right? So what's the difference between a ghost and a loved one in spirit, right? So, and what the difference really is there really isn't a difference. They're both a soul. The difference is the ghost didn't transition completely to the spirit world, so they're kind of a little bit in between. Not that they can't go to the spirit world. They're always being summoned, always could go, but they haven't quite accepted the passing. And so they're kind of like a little bit in transition, like, they haven't quite made the stop all the way, you know what I mean? But it's not that they can't. It's not that they can't or they're not allowed. It's just that they haven't accepted leaving the physical world completely, you see. But they're a soul just like this, our loved ones who have transitioned are a soul. So your question was, in the Civil War, he might have had a lot of, there might have been a reason why he's kind of stuck there. I mean, I don't know much about the Civil War, so I can't really expand upon that. But I believe that basically, if your friend kind of helped him transition, yes, there are mediums that do that. There are people who make that their life work to kind of help those that are a little bit in limbo, who sometimes maybe have such a shock to the system when they pass that they don't always recognize that they have passed, and understand too that there's no time or space in the spirit world. Everything is absolutely right now. So it's not like to them they've been stuck for 300 years or anything like that, or 100 years or 50 years. Everything is kind of right now. But there's always that ability to transition to the spirit world. There isn't not that they can't. It's just sometimes they stay a little bit too focused in not quite letting go and allowing that love and light to carry them to the spirit world. They kind of hang on a little bit. But yeah, so does that make sense? Did I answer that question? Sarah says, yeah, I'll be with dogs when I cross over. Yeah, I'm telling you, that girl was like surrounded with all these different dogs and animals and donkeys, and all of them had a little bit of an injury, an ear missing, a bandage on their arm, something like that. And she was really letting us know that she was working with animals on the other side. There was a husband that came in too, who he showed me, he set up a canvas. And it was like on one of those stands, like a big canvas, and he was watercoloring. He was painting and watercoloring, like he was painting. And he was painting scenery of like mountains and lakes and things like that, because that's what he had shown me with the canvas being placed in front of that. And he made me aware that in the spirit world, he had found this beautiful space that he was painting really beautiful sceneries. And his wife like smiled so big, and she goes, oh, you have no idea how happy I am to hear that, because my husband loved to paint and his specialty was watercolors. And whenever he could, he painted. And I have so many of his paintings. And so he was letting his wife know that he was in the spirit world doing what she knew he loved. And so in the spirit world, our loved ones do what they love. There was these two sisters that came in, and there was the third sister was sitting with me for a reading, and I brought in these two sisters, and they were like Thelma and Louise, you know what I mean? Like they were like and they just had a ball together, and they just showed me with them on a table, playing cards and like laughing, like echo laughs. And I felt like in life, their whole house would like echo from their laughter. And I said that to the sister, and she says, spot on. Like, that's exactly what it was. Their laughter echoed throughout the entire house. They were like so united together, and they did everything together. And they came in together for the sister that was sitting with me, and they were doing that very same thing, laughing and playing cards, and that echo laugh, so they were in the spirit world having such fun, just like they did in life, and they were together. So that gave a lot of comfort for the sister who was here for a reading. So that happened, and then there's so many. I'm just trying to make sense here. I wrote down a couple, but there's so many. Oh yeah, this one was kind of good too. There was this dad who came in, and I was aware of his father, and he came in, and we did this reading and everything, and then he put his hand in his pocket, and then he pulled out a bunch of photographs, and he started describing all the pictures to me. And so I started describing those images that he was showing me to his daughter that was sitting with me. And there was like 5, and I said to her, I said, your dad really loves memories. And he wants you to know, in the spirit world, he hangs on and cherishes these memories. He pulls out these 5 pictures of memories. And he says in life, he was all about, let's go make memories. And the daughter says, that's exactly what he always said. He would wake up and he would say, it's Sunday. He goes, let's go out and make some memories. And that's exactly what her dad would say. And he was in the spirit world showing pictures and talking about how he was about experiences, so he's in the spirit world making memories, and he's showing these pictures of memories that he had with his daughter. And he showed them to me and I described them and she could validate every single picture that he showed me. And they were each, in fact, memories. And then he said, let's go make memories. And so I know that that is what he was doing in the spirit world. He was finding things and making memories. And that was really touching for the daughter because it was this fond memory of her with him. And it was nice for her to know he was still doing those things. Let's see. So I think that, and there's so many, it's just like I'm drawing a blank a little bit, but there's so many. But there's, I really believe what we do is when we're in the physical world, we are creating experiences, or like the dad, making memories. We're creating experiences, we're in life, sometimes tackling through life, sometimes struggling through life, sometimes joyfully skipping through life. Sometimes in our life, we're doing all of those things at different times in our life, right? But I really believe that when we go to the spirit world, they're not doing anything that they don't want to do. And that's really what I want to express to you is they're doing the things that they loved and enjoyed so much here, that they're continuing that, probably even in a bigger way, but they're continuing what they loved to do here. So like somebody here said, my grandma always comes in and talks about how she's always cooking on the other side. And yeah, she was Italian, she loved to cook. See, that was something she loved, So she loved cooking. So why wouldn't she be cooking in the spirit world, right? I guess. So all I'm saying is what I feel here from the readings that I've done is that what I have found to be a common denominator is that none of them are not having a fun time. They're all doing what gave them great purpose or passion. What they're doing is things that they're showing us, things that they did and loved and enjoyed so much in their lifetime that they have carried that into the spirit world. And I don't know about you, but I find that to be really comforting because like from my father, I love to know that my dad is on the other side, with all of his buddies, his brat pack, hanging out and laughing and having a drink and having a party. He loved people and loved to be with people and loved to be with his people, his brat pack. And that gives me comfort to know he's doing what he really loved. He was a people person. And I think it's really wonderful when they come in and they share some of the things that they're doing in the spirit world, because sometimes we think, are they floating on a cloud? Is there anything? Are they doing anything? And they're doing what they love. And isn't that comforting for you to know that your son or your mother or your daughter or your husband are doing these things that they enjoy to do? And so that is what I have found in the spirit world. And I think that we can learn a lot from our loved ones in the spirit world because I think that we can take a paragraph or two from them in this when it comes to making sure that in our life we are doing things that make us happy and doing things that bring us joy and doing things that we're excited about, passionate about, or like that dad, let's get up and make memories. I think that that's really important that we live our life that way. And I really, 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 really believe that one of the most important key elements of mediumship is the fact that your loved ones are trying to remind you to do that. And that I'm pretty confident about for sure. I mean, I'm really, real sure about that. I know that that's why they come in. They want to reconnect you with your happiness and your joy. You don't think that your loved ones are happy with you being sad, right? Because no, they aren't. So they want you happy. And so I think that by them maybe sharing sometimes what they're doing and it reminds you that is what they love to do, it might ask you to ask yourself, well, what do I love to do? What do I enjoy doing? What would that be for me? And we don't have to wait to get to the spirit world to do that. We could do that right now. You know what I mean? We could do that right now. So I believe that mediumship sessions and readings, I feel, at least for mine, I think that it asks us questions for ourselves. It asks us to look a little bit deeper in ourselves, you see. And mediumship really is all about helping us connect more with ourselves. And by asking ourselves questions, we can do that. By asking ourselves questions of what makes us happy and, where joy sits for us and move towards that is a really good thing. What do you think? So let's see. Whoops. Sorry. Sorry. Is the spirit world considered heaven? Sure. Yes. Hi, Joanna. Yes. Yes. Of course, we call it different names, right? You know, spirit world, heaven, um, the afterlife. You know, we call it different things. It's whatever resonates with you. But yes, I do say yes. Jamie says, I love that story. Perfect. How and when did you find out you could connect with the spirit world? Jamie asked me. Well, when I connect with the spirit world, for sure. You know, I'm going to be honest. It has been an ongoing thing in my life. I always just knew somebody was with me. But as far as when I first realized that I could actually connect in a way that was a little more supernatural and not so natural, because naturally I always was kind of doing it. But in a supernatural way was when my children's father passed away, and he phoned our house to talk to our son. And as the phone rang, and it was somebody else calling for my son, but as we both got on the receiver and the guy that was calling for my son was on the phone, his dad came through. Static came, and then his dad spoke over the voice of the person that called for my son. And it gave chills throughout my entire body. And and he sounded exactly like he did when he used to come to the house to pick up, you know, the kids. And it was a moment that I'll never forget ever. You just can't forget that because it was so clear, so sharp, and so validating for me that it answered a lot of questions, because I always knew I was intuitive, but it was at that moment I realized that I can speak, I can communicate with the other side as well, because I was clearly hearing it. And that was the start of everything. Everything from my mediumship really kicked into gear when my kid's father passed away. That's when everything kind of really opened up, but it's been a lifetime. It's been always, to some degree or another. And I think, I believe that mediumship comes to you when you're ready for it. And I don't think if it would have came to me in the way it is now, 20 years ago or 25 years ago when I was raising my kids and they were little, I don't know if I would have taken it on, because I would have been, you know, I was so into being a mom, you know. So, you know, spirit world's intelligent and they're patient. And they just kept hanging around until that right time came. And then but when that time came, they came strong. They came very strong. And there was no denying it. And they weren't letting up. But they were patient. So anyway, I hope that answers your question. Joanne, I used to hear the term walk-ins. What do you know about that? Walk-ins? I don't know. I haven't heard the word walk-ins. We call them party crashers. You know, sometimes if you're doing, you know, a reading and somebody that you didn't expect kind of, you know, comes in. But again, you know, you should be able to validate them if it's a true mediumship session, right? It might be a blast from the past, but you'll be able to recognize who they are. So sometimes party crashers, like, you know, you invite your mom in or your dad in, and all of a sudden you got your boyfriend from the ninth grade show up in your reading. You're like, hey, I didn't expect you. Party crashing on my mom and me. But sometimes there's always significance in why they come in. So I always say, let's hear what they have to say. Okay, let's see. Kat, can spirit send you people? I feel like my mom and dad on the other side sent me my son. Absolutely. Of course, absolutely. I absolutely believe that the spirit world brought me my husband, 1,000%. The way I met my husband and the way that all went down and how it's been, the spirit world knew what I was going to be going through moving forward. You know, my kid's father, had passed away, not at that time, but so, you know, they knew what my road was going to be. And I know that I believe completely that my husband was sent to me, 1,000%. So absolutely, why can't your son be sent to you? And why can't it be from your parents? Of course, why not? Absolutely. I would say yes. I would say why not? Hi, Michelle. Evie says, amazing experience with your ex-husband coming on the phone to manifest his presence to his sons. It was, Evie. It was probably, I've had so many spiritual experiences, and, you know, some just blow the roof off. Some I'm not even willing to talk about because they were pretty something else. So I'm not even ready to talk about some of them. But all of them were wonderful. All of them were positive. But that one with my husband was really a moment because it's like the phone went staticky, like a television would go out, that static when the TV cable goes out. And then it blocked out the guy that was calling, and then he spoke over it. And then it was clear as day. And, he comes in a lot, by the way. So, but, and I'm always loving when he does. So, okay, let's see here. I got questions still to read here. Let's see if you guys have them. Cheryl, if a live person thinks of one who has passed on, is that them stopping by? Sure, because here's the thing. And somebody had a question here in regards to, how do we know when we are having intuition or if we're getting spiritual contact when I'm getting things in my head? I think Melissa might have asked that question. Let me see where that is. And I think it kind of will resonate with you, Cheryl. She asked, could you explain how to tell a thought that comes in your head out of nowhere, if it's intuition or premonition or just being paranoid? And so let me ask that, and then maybe Cheryl might expand a little bit with you. So Melissa, so what that really is when we get, the spirit world is going to use your mind. It's going to use this faculty. It's going to use your mind. It's not going to use your brain. It's going to use your mind. There's a difference. So a brain, when you're having thoughts, it's hard, it's heavy. You know what thinking feels like, right? When spirit, it comes in naturally. It just floats in. It's just like you're just minding your own business, and then all of a sudden, do you know like that? Like sometimes out of nowhere, something just comes into your head. Something just enters you. That's spirit, right? That's spirit. So could that sometimes be intuition? Yes. When it's intuition, it's always going to be more focused on you and your life, or, typically if it has to do with you. So the direction of the message will be different if it's intuition or if it's the spirit world, but it just sort of enters you. It just sort of floats in. Premonitions, Melissa asked, is it a premonition? Well, premonition is like, I guess you could say, it's something's going to happen and then it happens. Like you dream it and then tomorrow it happens. That's more like a premonition. And I don't get a lot of premonitions, so I can't really speak too intelligently about it because that's not really been my experience. I don't get premonitions, but I don't tend to. But when you get a thought that comes in, but it's just like it comes from nowhere, you're minding your own business, sometimes even sort of daydreaming, and you're just kind of in thought, and all of a sudden something lands in here. It just lands, floats in softly, gently, just calmly. That's spirit. Okay. So if a live person thinks of one who has passed on, is that them stopping by? Yeah, because oftentimes they want you to think of them because they're coming near you. And sometimes your own soul recognizes them in your presence. So sometimes we say, oh gosh, how do I know if my loved one's here? I want to feel them, I want to connect with them in their presence. Sometimes they'll work with your soul because they're a soul, you're a soul, right? And so they'll work with you and get you to think of them. And it's really them moving in. So absolutely, Cheryl. Does that make sense? Michelle says, I believe what you said because my husband sent you during my dark time, Monica. So thank you, Michelle. Definitely. And that will happen. You'll have spirit. I get spirit that will bring clients to me. And it's interesting because and other mediums too, I'm not saying just me, but the ones that come to me, the ones that spirit draws to me, it's because within my database, within me, they know I have what is going to help you. from my own experience or the way I approach my work or, whatever it is. And that's the same with other people too. I'm not just saying that's for me, but I know that spirit will bring clients to me 1,000%. And so, yes, I absolutely believe your husband could make things happen for you, Michelle, and how lovely that he brought us together. So I'm so happy for that. Sarah says, yes, I found Monica at just the right time too. Thank you. Hi, Heidi. Me three, she says. Cheryl says, thank you. Lisa. Hi, Lisa. Let's see here. Anne says, I had a dream recently of my childhood friend. It was brief, and when he spoke and I heard his voice, it woke me up and reasons my grief or lessened your grief. Is that what you mean? I had to go cry. Is this normal? When you get a connection with the spirit world, because when they move in so close, you can't help but feel them. So, of course, they're going to work with your emotional system. Remember somebody who asked how the sun said that spirit doesn't have emotions. They work with your emotional system. They'll move in so closely to get you to feel something. How can they open your heart if they don't get you to feel? How can our heart be open if we don't feel? Think about that for a second. If our hearts are closed and we don't have feelings, how are we going to heal? You don't think there's healing going on in the spirit world? I told you that there was a girl that was healing the children. I mean, there was a son that was helping children who had trauma in life heal. A niece that was helping animals on the spirit world, heal through things. Of course, and honestly, too, that we have loved ones on the other side that need healing, too, because, when they didn't get the opportunity in life to express something to you, and through a mediumship reading, they now can. You don't think that's healing? You don't think they feel that? Feelings are emotions, right? Get it? Makes sense? Okay, let's see here. You are helping me just listening to you, Jade said. Wonderful. And that's the thing, Jade, I like to come on and do these lives, and I like to do them because I just, I want to share what I know, and I never pretend to know it all. I will never do that. I don't pretend to know it all, but I know a few things, and I know from working with the spirit world, I'm very clear on what they do. And let me tell you something also. The spirit world too, because somebody asked a question. That's why I want to let me get to that question. There's a question that was asked to me. I'll get to it. It's on this list. Let me just see. Do you personally find it easier to see them or hear them? Tiffany last week asked this. Do you personally find it easier to see them or hear them? I'm very clairvoyant. I see them. And let me tell you something. I see them. I see them. I see them. I just did a reading, one of my readings a few days ago or late last week or something. I had a husband that came in and he literally did 3 wardrobe changes. He changed his wardrobe 3 times. He was a walking, moving picture. He was so vivid, and it was beautiful. And so I see a lot. But here's the thing. Your loved ones are going to work with me in the way they know I'm going to best understand them. My guides work with me in my mediumship. They tell your loved ones how to best work with me. I'm very clairvoyant. I was a photographer for 24 years of detail, 24 years of color, of details, of pictures, of imagery. Why do you think the dad that came in who showed me 5 pictures of memories he's made with his daughter, and I was able to look at every picture, describe every picture, and tell the daughter those pictures? Why do you think I could do that? Because I'm very clairvoyant. Why? Because imagery comes very natural to me. Right? So, but there might be another faculty that what I'm not so great at is names. But do you know why I'm not great at it? And I get them. I got several last week, but I'm not like boom, 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 boom with the names. And I'm okay with that because in life, I'm not good with names. I will remember your face. I will remember exactly what you look like, what you wore, the color of your shoes, how tall you were, how you wore your hair. If you had a Brett in your hair, if you had a crooked tooth, I will remember all of those details. Anybody that I meet at a party, at a charity event, at anything. But boy, when you introduce me and you tell me your name, I'm telling you, I'm going to forget it in 10 seconds. And it's not because I want to. I can't retain that. I am a visionary. Does that make sense? So the spirit world knows that. So I see really well, but I also hear. I'm very clairaudient too, but clairvoyance is my strongest suit. And the reason why is the reason why I explained it. But there'll be another medium who maybe gets a lot of names because they were always very good with names. You know, they were very natural with names. They liked name books. They were always into names. They might have liked to change their name a lot. There might have been a lot of things about them when it came to names. And so spirit will know they'll give names. But I'm really good with the emotion. I'm really good about letting them come really close so I can really tell their story. I'm really good with clairvoyance, but I'm not great with the names. But I'm all right with that. I would rather tell their story. So for me, but they know that. Make sense? But I'll still get names, but it's just not my strongest suit. Okay, Melissa, the reason I asked is because a few weeks ago, I just got this thought out of nowhere. It was that all of my dogs were going to die one after another. That really upset me. My biggest fear is something happening to my fur babies. All right. That was not intuition. That was your mind. Because your mind is going to give you things to be afraid of. Right? The spirit world isn't going to give you things to be afraid of. The spirit world isn't going to work from a place of fear. Spirit world works from a place of love. But your mind, your fear can form thoughts that will be translated into your thought, into your mind, and you'll get that. So I'm going to tell you that that was you, and that was your fear creating a thought to keep you fearful. Spirit world won't do that. So hope that makes sense. Hope that clears you up. So start looking at your doggies and your fur babies as being happy, healthy longevity. My husband always says, oh, Zozo, she's going to be 20. She's going to be 21. I look at my dog all the time who's 13 and slowing down. I'm like, oh, she's Benjamin Buttons. Every year she just gets younger and healthier and more vital, you know? So that's how I do it because I don't want to put my mind there. And so I keep my thoughts really positive about her aging. You see, she's Benjamin Button. She gets younger every year. So does that make sense, honey? But our thoughts will do that. And I have a Facebook Live I did on fear. So maybe you want to go on my website and watch that, because if that's something that you're having a lot, Melissa, go on my website, go on my video page and watch my Facebook Live on fears. I think you were probably maybe on that one, but it might be good to refresh that a little bit. That's your mind. Okay, so not premonitions. All right, so now you can sleep good tonight. All right. Let's see. Hi, Diane. Diane from Massachusetts. Lynn, well, you had a Zoom reading with you for 30 minutes, and at the very end you said, who's John? I said, my husband. You said, yeah, that's what he told me. So he did tell you at the very end. Yeah, like I get names. I have the other one. I said, who's Francine? Oh my God, that's my grandmother. I get it. I get names, but I don't really care if I get names. I just say, work with me how you want to work with me. If you want to give me your name, give me your name. If you want me to tell your story, then come close. Let me tell your story. If you want me to, so whatever it is. So I'm not held on, I have to know a name. It doesn't matter to me if I get them, but when they want to share it, then, and I can understand it, then fab. So lovely. I love that your husband gave me his name. Okay, perfect. Thank you for sharing that, darling. Hi, Lynn. Oh, no, that was you. Sorry. I'm reading back. Okay, let me get some more questions here. All right. So, Lori, I don't know if Lori's on here, but Lori asked last week, I'm a bit intuitive. How can I deepen that? And intuition will really work really strongly when you are through meditation, through yoga, through grief, through near-death experiences. That all like triggers it to happen. Like I know like when my kid's father passed away, that trauma of seeing my kids in that pain really opened up the mediumship, those faculties that were already within me. But that's what really made it volcano out. It was always there. I always kind of knew I was a little different, but it was that moment that it really kind of escalated. So when we focus on our soul, when we work on ourselves, when we have trauma that happens to us, or we lose somebody in our life, we go through really pain, it can open up your faculties. So that's one way. So that can kind of happen. I think it's very important to be imaginative when you want to when you're intuitive. The spirit world is very imaginative. You must have an open mind and an open heart when you work with spirit, when you want to connect with spirit. They work with creativity. The spirit world's extremely creative. They are really creative, and we can be that creative too, but we don't even use a fourth, an eighth, a tenth of our creativity, or that we have within us. But in the spirit world, we can. That's why you'll find people who love to paint here really take it to another level over there, right? I think hanging out with like-minded people also will help you tap into your intuitiveness as well. There's faculties that we have. We see, we smell, we hear. We have these senses, and then we have the sixth senses too, right? And to kind of figure out the best way that you are to be intuitive. First of all, it's really natural, and so I hate for people to put so much focus on trying to find a way to do it, because intuitiveness is really a natural gift within all of us. We all have it, and it's about how you open the door to it. Are you open? Is your door open to wanting to be intuitive? And when I say that, it's like you have to be willing to say, when you get a hit of something, you're like, oh, I knew that. Do you think it's just coincidence? Do you think that there's something there? Can you trust that what you received was intuitive? Because that's really where the problem lies, because we create blocks within us when we question what we receive. And when you work with the spirit world, boy, you got to trust. And when you want to work in your intuition, where you want your own intuition to guide you in your life to make better choices and decisions, boy, you better trust what you're getting. But when you question it, then you're not trusting. And when you're not trusting, that door's kind of closed. But when you can say, I just got that. That's cool. Understand that when you're getting intuition, you're receiving intuition from your deeper self. And you can trust that, can't you? You can trust your deeper self, can't you? I mean, there's no reason not to trust what you receive. And one way to kind of make it easier to trust what you're receiving is, keep a journal on what you get, hey, I this just happened. I'm just going to make a note of it. And, keep a little journal. And I think that when you look back at that journal, you'll see a lot of those things were true, were factual, were on point. And that'll kind of help build your confidence within yourself. One thing that you can do to kind of learn the better way you seem to receive information, either intuitively or with spirit, is by taking a moment to kind of just be where you are right now, be in the space that you are right now, wherever the room is that you are, and just look everywhere that you are. Look, 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 look. Take it all in, the sounds, the imagery, the colors, the smells. Take it all in, and then close your eyes. And now try to recreate what you just saw. What seems to be standing out? Was it the smells? Was it the color? Was it the imagery? Was it the picture on the wall? What was it that you saw? So you can practice this, just scan your room, and then try to replicate it in your mind. What's the first thing you come to? The first thing, what are the things that you're remembering first? Because that is what you are attuned to first. And that's probably how you learn best. And when you work with your guides, your spirit guides are going to work with you on the best way you learn, the best way you receive. Why do you think my guides work with me so much clairvoyantly? Why do you think they showed up and gave me so many things visually? Because they know me, and they know I'm really good with pictures. I'm really good with detail. I'm really good with that. So they know that's a great way to teach me, right? So when you scan the room and then you close your eyes and you try to recreate what you scanned, what stands out? Is it the sounds that you're remembering? Are you remembering the sound first? Are you remembering the color? Are you remembering the texture under your feet? What's standing out? And that'll give you a little bit of a clue of what clairs are more prominent for you. Clairvoyance or touch or smell, or so what is that for you? So just little things like this, don't make intuition like a hard thing to kind of learn. It's not a hard thing to learn. It's a natural faculty within you. You already know how to do it. You already have it. You already know how to do it. You just don't trust it. So learn to trust and your intuition will skyrocket. In a nutshell, that's really it. It's really that simple. We really make it so much more complicated. Don't we do that though in life? Don't we make so many things more complicated than they need to be? Come on. Things are really easy. It doesn't have to be difficult. It's not difficult. We are naturally this way. We are born this way. Do you think we showed up in this world without some type of a navigation system to help us through this life? Come on. We got our guides helping us. We got our own navigation system within us. But do we tap into it? Do we converse with it? Do we pay attention to it? That's our responsibility. But it's there for us if we want it. Just start paying attention to how you receive. And you will know how your intuition and your spirit communication works for you. That's it. Okay. Sorry. I'm blabbing. Deirdre said, my dad passed almost 6 years ago, but a few days before he passed, I kept thinking about him nonstop and something told me to call him, but I didn't for whatever reason. Was that intuition or was that was your soul? Yes. So your soul knew. Our soul knows a lot. And we're really getting trickles from our soul all the time. But if we got flooded with all of it, we wouldn't be able to handle it. But our soul carries and knows so much. So you are very wise. You are a soul, and your soul is very wise. And it is always trying to feed you. Think of it as like a tube, like a feeding tube. Your soul is always trying to feed you information, feed you wisdom, feed you guidance, feed you knowledge, always. So in those moments, because it was profound with your father, it gave you something, pretty spot on, right? So yeah, that was your soul. So that would be intuition, yes, because your soul, your intuition comes from your soul. Yeah. Does that answer your question? Hi, Peggy. Hi, Diane. Hi, Cheryl. Is seeing the same numbers 111 or 111 a message from loved ones in spirit? I have been seeing those numbers all the time. Okay, so I talked about this one kind of before once on a live, and here's the thing: a sign comes to you with a feeling. The spirit world works with symbols, they work with imagery, right? They work with your feelings and your emotions. They work with your nervous system. You get tingles, that's your nervous system. They work with your mind. Feathers drop, things drop into your mind. They will work like this. And so the numbers, does it mean something to you? So does 111 or 111 mean anything to you? Does the number 111 totaling 3 mean something to you? Is there something on January 11th that means something to you, or to somebody in the spirit world? Is 111 January 11th? Any of those combinations at all mean anything in the spirit world to somebody? Sometimes it's a way that, that's the thing, like when you're working with the spirit world, sometimes they're going to give you information about them so that you know it's them. Sometimes they're going to give you information about what's going on for you. Sometimes the information is going to come in because it's for somebody else. Like last week, we talked about numbers on the clock that was in relation to this gal's mother. Her mother and her father, her husband, coming in, because those numbers were her mother's birthday. So it was a way that they were trying to get a message to her mother, you see. So what do the numbers mean to you? What does it feel to you? Because those numbers are going to mean different things to me than they're going to mean to you. And it's supposed to, because it's not my symbol or my message, it's for you. So your message will be different than mine, right? What you think about those numbers is going to be different than mine. So my thoughts. So does that make sense? So you always have to think about, peel out the onion. Like, what does this mean to me? And then you'll find your answer. So you have to be willing to kind of unfold it a little bit, because messages lay within messages. So if 111 is a message, if you open that, okay, oh, let's take a look at that. Let's think about that. Let's dive a little deeper in that. And then there's more information within that. When I do my clairvoyance, I open the pictures. So when a loved one gives me an image, the story is in the picture. So I have to open up the picture. So I look at the picture, and then with my detail, I'm scanning that image and I'm opening it, and then I get all this data about the story that the loved one wants to share about that picture. Spirit doesn't give you a picture for no reason. They don't give you a number for no reason. They don't give you anything for no reason. Nothing is random. Nothing is random. Okay, so let me just see here. Diana asks, is it too early to feel someone present that passed 1 week ago? Nope. I've had people that have come in. I've actually given readings for someone who hasn't even had a funeral yet. They were only on the other side 2 days. So no. Hi, Sandy. Hi, Monica, and all you beautiful souls. Oh, Sandy, that's so sweet. Saying hi to all you guys. Just coming off of a Zoom meeting, was not picked for a reading, but coming into the house, I looked down, and right in front of me was a feather. You know, I grabbed that right up. Of course you would, darling. Thank you, Cody. Exactly. Perfect. Love that, Sandy. Love that. Perfect. And so no, so see, here you go. Here's your son, honey, who's giving you this reading, you didn't get a reading in a group, but he wanted you to know that he was still there. So I always tell you, when you do these group readings, whether you get a reading or not, they're always there with you. It's who the medium is being impressed upon and where the need is the most at that particular time. But here's a perfect example. You know, Cody was there with you, darling. And so when you came home, you got the feather. It's his way of letting you know, don't worry, Mama got you, right? Isn't that beautiful? So our loved ones are always around us, you know. They were saying on my walk today, as I was walking today, Edgar, the guides, came in, and they said, tell Facebook Live that the spirit world, so mind you, I have these conversations with the guides when I walk. It's kind of like our meeting room. It's like our boardroom. It is, I tell you, I'm not joking. It's like our boardroom. And so I become very open to receive when I walk. And so the guides came in and they're like, tell Facebook Live, go on Facebook Live, and they want to know about the spirit world. And they said, tell them that the spirit world is one gigantic window, and everybody and their loved ones can always look through the window. So if you can understand, like, and they said to use this screen, so they just told me that now. So look at the screen. So you're seeing me right now, right? So let's say this was the window, and I am your loved ones, and I am looking through, and you can see me. Right? So you can see me. And they said that think of the spirit world as one big glass window. And they are always looking after you. And they're always looking over you. And they're always aware of you. And I can't remember now everything else that they said about it because, you know, it was coming quick. But that's the gist of it, was wanting you to know that the spirit world is really like this veil. Yeah, this veil is really thin, and this veil between the physical world and the spiritual world is a window. And although you knock on a window and you don't think you could get across yet, but you can see in it, you see. So they just want you to know that that's how close they are to you. That's how close your loved ones are to you, that they are really looking through a window at you all the time. So they're very aware of everything that you're doing. So when Sandy comes home, and she comes home and now she receives a feather on her step, and she was hoping for a reading with her son, he knew, you see. So isn't that amazing? I love that. And Sandy says, absolutely. It was beautiful, of course, because they want you to know that they're around you. They don't want you to feel like they're not around. They want you to know. And believe me, they're always making this aware. You know, they're always doing it, but it's about being aware. Sandy became aware. She received that feather. She was disappointed she didn't get a reading, and her son looked after her. They always got your back. They always got your heart. Got to get my Monica fix. Oh, hi, Yana. My grandfather passed away in May. Wondering if he's around and has any messages. I'm not doing readings on here, darling. I'm sorry. Hi, Sherry. Good evening. All much love. That's lovely. Okay, let me see if there's any more here, because I know there were so many questions. We just get so lost in all this, huh? Okay. Have you ever felt an evil spirit that was related to a client? Okay. I have never connected with anybody who had somebody on the other side that was evil. No. Have I met very interesting people on the other side that have come in that have very interesting lives, who had very interesting lives that were maybe not something I was maybe accustomed to? Sure. Evil? No. But, you know, I did a workshop one time, and I had a lot of people in the room. I don't know, like maybe 100 people on this workshop I was teaching in person. And somebody came, and it was a client of mine, and she showed up with somebody, and I couldn't get out of that space fast enough. Not the client, but who the client brought. And I was very uncomfortable. And I just had to cut the conversation and move, because I was, teaching, but and I didn't like it. And not too long afterwards, a very terrible thing happened. So that was pretty evil. But he was alive. He was not on the other side. Does that make sense? So I don't really experience any evil on the other side. That's what my point is. But sometimes we can meet some bad guys here, huh? So anyway, let's see here. Okay, where is the spirit world? Right here. Right here. Spirit world's right here. Why can you see the spirit world and I can't? I've practiced. Why can I see the spirit world and maybe you can't? Well, listen, we are all capable of having guidance and wisdom from the spirit world. There isn't any one of us that is more special than another. There isn't anyone that has a bigger right or anything like that to have wisdom and guidance and connection and communication from the spirit world. It's a faculty we are all equipped to do. As I said last week, some of us all sing, but we don't all sing like Barbra Streisand, right? But that doesn't mean we don't have vocal cords, that we can't connect or communicate, and so everyone has that ability and that right. The trick is to be able to work those faculties and strengthen those faculties and be willing to put the time and devotion into wanting it. And when you open that when you open that door of intention, wanting to connect for the reasons that are pure and of love, they will respond. And if you continuously sit and practice that, you will communicate. You will. You will. So it's just, it does take work, because it is a language. And somebody asked me also on here, can you explain a little bit more about the language of the spirit world? And the spirit world is a language of symbols. It's a language of love. It's a language of imagery, creativity. It's a language of emotions. It's a language. So, as we are used to using words, right? So many times the spirit world give me a feeling and then they push the word out of my mouth. So when I'm doing like claircognizance, where I just know what to say and it just all seems right, it's all just right, it just comes out, it's because they've come so close and they've allowed me to feel them so much that I can just really make them come into the room. And as they come into the room, they like that, and then they'll just push words out of my mouth, you see, that go along with the feelings that they're giving me. So, I mean, it's probably getting deep for somebody who doesn't, if you don't really understand me, I don't want to take it too far, but it's a beautiful thing. Let me just see here. Sandy Clark asked, I had a kid who walked up to me that for a moment I thought for sure was my son. Dressed like him, keys hanging from his pocket, hat backwards, same build, 1,000%, 100% totally. I absolutely believe that our loved ones sometimes morph themselves through somebody else. 1,000%. My mom was in Germany and she swore she saw her girlfriend in the department store. Like, she swore she saw her girlfriend in the department store who was on the other side. Like, she was just standing there looking right at my mother, like, just like this. And my mom's mouth fell to the floor. She couldn't believe it. That is the same girlfriend who also left a voicemail on my mother's answering machine a couple of months after she passed away. So she's a strong spirit. So absolutely, I was walking on the beach one day, and this man came up to me. He was walking towards me, and he walked real slow as he got close to me, and I looked at him, and I felt my dad. And his eyes, I looked into his eyes, and I felt my father. And he resembled my dad, but it was weird. It was like, I swore that was my dad. And I believe it was. 1,000%. I absolutely believe, in my heart, I believe that was my dad walking on the beach next to me, you know, through that man. And so, Sandy, I believe absolutely your son would do something like that. Absolutely. 1,000%. So yes, how lovely for you. Okay, let me just see what else. Kathy Castro asked, how do you see them? How do you see spirits? A couple of different ways. Sometimes I get impressions, and sometimes they're as clear as a photograph or as clear as a movie. Or sometimes it's like an impression, like a thumbprint, where you see the etching and the outline of them, and you can see where the mustache is, and you can see the shape of their face or their bone structure. You know, you can see something prominent about their features that'll stand out, or you'll see that their head is bald, or, you know, you'll see things like that. So sometimes I see it kind of black and white. Sometimes it's like an impression, almost like a fossil. You know, like a fossil impression, like a leaf on a fossil. And sometimes it's super clear and vibrant, like a movie, and they just come to life. And sometimes it's all different ways. It depends on the loved ones, you see. And you have to understand, like, even though like I'm very clairvoyant, maybe loved ones don't all want to work in clairvoyance. You know, or so that's why. But sometimes they love the clairvoyant, like if they're so. Sometimes maybe it's like a moving picture because they really resonate with clairvoyance. You know what I mean? So maybe it has a little bit to do with that, but I see it in all ways. And I know that when clairvoyance opens up in your mind, when you go to sleep at night, you'll start seeing faces. So that's how it was for me. When clairvoyance began to open up, I just started seeing all these faces. Like I would just see like 20 faces all at once, like boom, 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 just face right before I would go to sleep. I thought, oh, that's grandma. But I play with it. You know, I said, oh, that's a grandma. That's a son. Oh, this is a little one. She's about 2, maybe 3. But that's also teaching me, right? So they're also utilizing that opportunity to expand my clairvoyance, right? Because now they know I like pictures. So now I'm going to look at that. I want to know, like, what's in that picture? How old are they in that picture that they're showing me? And, you know, I get curious. So I love that. So anyway, okay. Let's see. Is there any other questions, guys? Monica, so negative energy, we feel right. Huh? I don't understand, Sandy. Monica, so negative energy, we feel right? Or do you mean no? So no negative energy? Is that what you mean? No negative energy. I don't believe in negative energy in the spirit world. Do you feel people like you do spirits? And if so, how do you tell the difference? Do you feel people like you do spirits? What does that mean, Jade? Do you feel people like you do spirits? And if so, how do you tell the difference? Do you feel people like you do spirits? I don't know what that question is. Hi, Kathy. Thank you for being so honest. But you know what? You got to be transparent. Why come on here if I'm going to be lying? So I got to keep it real. Make an appointment, Kathy says. Maria, I saw my son a half hour before I received the call of his passing. You saw him in your mind? You saw him in your mind, or you saw him physically? What does that mean? Give me more, Maria. Cherie, had my guides yell at me to put my slippers on when I got up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. Good thing I did is they told me I stepped on a mouse. No joke. Thanks, guides. I love that. I love that. Yes. I mean, listen, they don't tend to be shouters, but if it is to help prevent something in your life that would not feel or be good for you, then yeah, I could see them getting a little bit firm. I remember that. I remember one time I was having to do a bunch of videos, and I'd gone to this Christmas party the night before, and I'd been working that week, and I was tired. But that next day I had to get up like at 6 o'clock in the morning to go shoot videos, and I was beaten, so I was like laying in bed a little bit. You're gonna be late. Poked me. They literally poked me in the shoulder and said, you're going to be late. You got to get up. I'm like, okay. And it was funny too, because like when I do videos, like whenever you see videos that I've done, like through, I don't know if you've seen, videos where I talk about mediumship or anything, or any of those videos that are on my website, the spirit world is so close every single time I do those videos. They like literally are sitting right next to me, and I'm like hot. They're buzzing all around me. It's like, and I had to learn to like not get so distracted by that, because they always come in when I'm talking about mediumship or I'm doing stuff with work, and so anyway, I don't know why I talked about that. Okay, anyway, let's see. Katie asked, should you acknowledge if you feel they sent us a message? I usually do, but not sure if it was a sign or not. If it feels like it was a sign, treat it like it was a sign, always acknowledge. They love to be acknowledged. Whenever I do readings, I'm always saying, the most important thing is I need to know who we have. That's my main goal, is I'm bringing someone in and I want to know you know who I have. Because it's important. They want to be recognized. I always say, like when the grandparents come in, I always say, like, the grandparents always come side by side, and they never want to be confused. Grandparents never want to be confused. They never want you to think that it's the other grandparent. They don't. And so they always come in side by side. As soon as I bring in one, then all of a sudden the information changes, and now it fits the next one. And now the next one's stepping and knocking on the door. And they always show up, one and then the other. Like one doesn't want to have center stage and not have the other one have center stage, and they always show up side by side. But they all want to be identified, and nobody wants to think that they're somebody else. I mean, if your name's Mary, do you want to be called Kathy? Or if your name's Sarah, do you want to be called Megan? We want to be who we are. And so they want to be acknowledged. So I always say, first and foremost, I want to know who we have. So that's always my goal at first. Let me just see here. Dawn had asked, have you ever had anyone come through that your client refused to listen to or want to hear what they have to say? Yes. And that's their right. Oh, I think I talked about this last week. So I'll just make this quick. Yes, 1,000%, and it's up to you. I will never force a message on a client ever. You have to be at that right place, and you have to feel good about it. Sometimes when you get mediumship readings, you hear from exactly who you want, and sometimes you also hear from somebody you didn't expect. Sometimes that throws you off. You're not so much prepared for that, but understand that if you're not ready to hear from that particular person for whatever reason, I will never push it, but I will always first say, are you sure you don't want to just hear what they have to say? Because oftentimes, there's a reason why they're coming, and it's always to lift you. Nobody comes from the spirit world to try to make you feel badly. No one's coming from the spirit world to make you feel bad or to chew you out or anything like that. I mean, that's not happening. So if they're coming, they have something from their heart to express. So, but I'll never force you to hear it. That's up to you. I will move on to the next person that's in line wanting to come forward. And sometimes there is quite a lineup. So we'll just move to the next one, as long as we identify who it is. That's what I care about. And if you don't want to receive it, we'll move on. That's okay. But I think you should hear from them. But whatever you want. It's up to you. Okay. Can I sign up for a mediumship reading and not have a loved one come? Ooh, good one. Okay. Let me explain something about the spirit world. You want to have a mediumship reading. Sometimes when you sign up for a mediumship reading, it's because, maybe you're struggling in your life. Maybe you're struggling in your life, and the spirit world will use a spirit reading to get you to sit with me. But really what they want is you to sit with me. And it happened twice. One yesterday and one the day before. It happens. And sometimes your loved ones bring you to me or bring you to a medium. In my case, I'll just speak of me. They bring you to me because they know that this dialogue will help her forward. And so you don't need a spirit reading. You need a life reading. You're struggling in your life. And it happened just yesterday, and it was a very profound reading. And I know when a reading starts, I'll know in the first minute what the agenda is for the spirit world. And I always say, they have an agenda. And sometimes it's them wanting to communicate with you, and sometimes it's them wanting you to communicate with me. And whatever it is, it's always perfect for what the client needs. So I always trust the spirit world. And, and if that is the case where that happens, where your loved ones want you to kind of have this safe space to talk through things and to get some spiritual healing in a way that's slightly different than a mediumship reading, it's always been really profound. And it's always triggering things that clients tend to want to bury. And it comes up, and it really helps their healing process in their life and helps them forward. And that is what mediumship is too. So sometimes it is the spirit world, and sometimes it's the spirit world and your loved ones utilizing the reading in a different way, because really that's what you need. And so sometimes you'll get a reading, but you'll get a different reading than maybe you think, but it's always the reading that you need, and that's what's important. So yeah, that happens sometimes. Because sometimes your need is you're struggling more in your life, in life currently, and that is what is initially most important. So maybe, you can always have a spirit reading, but if there's something really heavy going on that you're really struggling and moving forward in your life, then sometimes that is precedence. That's got to be first, and the spirit world will know that. So does that make sense? What do you guys think about that? Because there's been like this really profound readings that have come that way. Anyway, let's see. Hi, Heidi. When my dad came through to you, he zipped his lips, and you said he kept to himself. He always did just that, so I knew it was truly him. Zip it. Yeah, here's the thing. Your loved ones aren't going to come in differently than who they were. You wouldn't recognize them. It wouldn't make sense. Sometimes the best evidence is when they just show up in the room. I did a reading last week with a husband. It was unbelievable. I was just like, wow. He was like it was just amazing. But they came exactly as he was in his life. But that's how they are. If they came in different, then how would you recognize them? It wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't be intelligent. They wouldn't do that. They're going to come as they are, because then you'll know it's them, right? So, yay. Trying to say we can all feel negative energy when around certain people, right? Sandy asked that. Yeah, remember I told you that you're probably responding to the guy at my workshop who came with a client of mine, and I couldn't get out of the room fast enough. Like, I literally couldn't leave his energy fast enough. Like, I didn't like it at all. Like, I just couldn't just, and turns out, what I was feeling was accurate. I didn't know to the degree, but I knew it wasn't good. So, but again, that's intuition, right? So like when you're in space with others and you feel a little wonky and a little icky and not quite right, there's a reason for that. You're tapping into somebody else's energetic space, right? You are connecting with somebody else's energy. Either their energy is moving into you, or you're kind of slipping into them a little bit, or whatever it is. But your energies are kind of touching, right? And that's what a reading is. A psychic reading is me touching your auric field. It's me, my auric field moving into your auric field and going, and then I feel, and then I'm like, okay, where does it go? And then I get moved to different aspects of your life in areas that need focus, and it'll highlight for me. And I know we need to talk about those areas. That's how it is. But I connect and I tap in. And sometimes it just happens accidentally. You'll have that. You'll just feel funky around somebody. It's just your aura is just kind of touching a little bit, you know? And you're like, oh, I don't like how that feels. Right? That's intuitiveness. We're all intuitive. We all have it. The only thing is, it's like nobody really taught it. Nobody talked about it. Everybody said it wasn't a good thing. It's the one thing we come in life with. You know, that's like saying, oh, you shouldn't see, or you shouldn't hear, or you shouldn't feel. I mean, your psychic faculties are what helps us through our day. It's our navigation. But you know, why we spend so much of our life shutting it down is ridiculous, because it's really such a wonderful way to navigate us through our life. And you know, it's really important that we learn to trust how we feel. And why do you think the guides are always saying, how does it feel? How does it feel? How does it feel? How does it feel? How do you feel? Ask, how does it feel? Ask, how does it feel? Because they're always trying to connect you to your feelings. Because when you connect to your feelings, you're also connecting to your deeper self, your soul. Make sense? So, okay. Don't you love how these lives just go on all these different, like, pages? It's like we're talking about all these different things. It just keeps going in all these different directions. You can never just stay on one topic. It just goes everywhere. I love it. Do you guys, are you enjoying this? Is this making sense? Are you enjoying? Let me know. How are you feeling about this? Deirdre, when you do readings, do all loved ones who have passed come through, or just one? Oh God, oh my gosh. I have parties. I don't know, any of y'all who have had readings who have had many people come in? I have had readings where I have had so many loved ones come in. 6, 7, 8, 10. I had 12, 14 people come in a reading. I've had one. You know, it depends on the need, and you know, there's always intelligence also with the spirit readings on what they kind of talk about. Really, majority of the time, there's always an agenda, and that agenda really does connect with what the client is going through in their life. And I mean, boy, I could share stories about a couple of readings I did earlier this week in regards to that. Maybe I'll say that for spirit stories, because there's a few I'd love to share, but it'll go down a whole nother path tonight. It'll go in a whole nother direction. We'll get into all that. But, you know, again, you know, I'm passionate about this. I could talk forever. So, okay, so let me see. Cody brought me to Monica. Had the best reading ever. Thank you, son. Aw, thank you, Cody. That's sweet, Sandy. Thank you. Can animals sense spirits around us or in our home? 1000% yes. Every time, like when I've been working from home now because I'm in Las Vegas, and so I don't have my chair yet in my office. It's delayed to like freaking November. So I've been like, I always prepare and sit with the spirit world before I sit with the clients. I always spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes with the spirit world and saying, you know, where do we want to go? You know, I always set my intention for the spirit world and for my clients' reading. I always set an intention for your reading with me. And so I always do that. And every time the dog follows me and she like wants to sit like literally in my lap, she totally feels it. Totally. And in the middle of the night too, because I get a lot of visits in the nighttime. And oftentimes when I wake up, she's like this. Like she sees what's going on. Anyway, so yes, animals are completely sensitive to it. Absolutely. Somebody asked me too last week, they said, how does it feel like, how do you deal with visitors in the middle of the night? Like they said, like, how do you handle that? How do you handle like having all these visitors when you're sleeping at night, when they come in? Because I spoke about that probably last week. And the answer to that is, you know, it doesn't happen as much anymore. I know they're in my room, but they don't communicate with me so much anymore. And the reason why is because I'm working all day in my readings, and I work like 6 days a week. So I'm working all the time, and I'm traveling doing my readings, and I'm doing readings all the time, and so I would just be so tired if I was having to communicate in the middle of the night and all day. I don't think I would be my best for my clients if I didn't manage my energy better. And the spirit world knows that. And so my guides are working with me, and they know my schedule. My God, they're the ones they're helping putting you all on my calendar. So they're aware of what's coming in and what's coming up. And it, they don't do it anymore. But when I was developing, and when I was younger with it, newer at it, oh my gosh, it was just like nonstop. It was just like, so it's like that door was open, and it was just like they were just coming in all the time. I never minded it though, because I wasn't as busy in the days, so it was okay. And I actually was always excited to see who was going to come. And I love the spirit world, and I love your loved ones, and I've met such beautiful kids and parents and children, and it's just been amazing. And so I always love to see who's kind of coming in, and beautiful husbands, and it's just been it's wonderful. And so I never minded it at night, but it would be harder now because I work a lot. So I have to manage my energy, and so that's my responsibility. And I think the spirit will keep me in check too. I also say that when I get overworked, and I can, and when I get overworked, the guides will just shut everything down. They literally will shut everything down, and everything will just freeze for like 2 days, and I'll just kind of get that chance to kind of reset, because sometimes I have to be mindful of my time and my energy and all that kind of stuff. But even me, sometimes I'm not always great with it. So I'm always having to work on that too. And so I'm always trying to be mindful of it, but I'm not always perfect with it. And so, but I really try. And so sleeping helps. And so I don't get a lot of it anymore. That was a long answer to that question. That was a long answer. Okay, let's see. Okay, what else? Do we have anything else? Let's see. Sarah says, my loved ones wanted me to chat with Monica about some issues I was having. It truly helped push me forward in the best way. Yeah, see, sometimes the spirit world want you to sit with me, because there's things that we can talk about to kind of help work through things with you. And, sometimes we miss our loved ones so much, but sometimes we're having a hard time in our life, and sometimes that has to be priority, because we have to learn how to work through stuff so we can start feeling better. And then you could do a spirit reading, so do you know what I mean? So sometimes just trust the way it shows up, the way it comes. It's always divinely guided by the other side. So whatever you get is always what you need. And isn't that perfect? I mean, that's perfect, right? So sometimes it happens that way. Sometimes. Hi, Nina. Thank you for sharing all your amazing experiences. Well, thank you, Nina, for being here. Michelle, can a spirit tell you about a future death of someone, and can tell you, the person, about a future death? I don't want to know that. Remember I talked earlier here, I don't get premonitions. I don't want them. I don't believe, and when I do my psychic readings, my life readings, I don't want to give predictions. I don't want to do that. I think it steals your personal power. I'm not willing to do that. I am all about wanting to give you your power, show you your personal power, help you with your power. Telling you everything is stealing that from you. I'm not going to do that. I'm just not going to do it. So if you're somebody that wants to know the prediction, this and that, and all that, I'm never going to be your girl. I don't want to work that way. I want to help you forward in your life. If I'm doing a life reading, I'm going to go into your auric field psychically. I'm going to become aware of certain things in your life that needs attention and focus, and we're going to walk through it. And we're going to go through that. And I know it's going to guide me where it needs to be. And if I become aware of something specific, then I'll share it with you. But I'm not big on predictions, so I wouldn't want the spirit world to tell me anything about someone's death. I think that's up to God, and I don't think any of us need to know any of that. So that's my take on it. So put my glasses on upside down. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's see. Priscilla says, I love it too. Love listening to you, Lori says. Thank you, darling. Absolutely enjoying this discussion. Thank you, Kat. Totally enjoying tonight. Evie says, good, thank you. Love this topic. Lori says, I had a party. You're so cute. So Sandy says she had a party. So she's saying that she must have had several loved ones come in at our reading. And that's what she's meaning. Because I always say, it could be a party. And I always joke, like when I'm doing readings, I'm like the Uber driver. So I need to, like, how am I going to show up? Am I going to show up in like a Prius or do I need a minivan? So I never know how many people are coming in. And that's the thing. Like whenever I start a reading, I never know what direction it's going to go. I just got to trust and just let's see how it goes. And it's always perfect. So I just love that. And so I trust the spirit world and I trust that they have what's best for you. 1000%. Super great live. Perfect. Pamela. Hi, Pamela. I have been wanting to see you and your live shows up just now. Amazing. Monica, I have been wanting to see you and your live showed up just now. Oh, perfect. Oh, you wanted to be seeing me. You just saw me up on Facebook. Perfect. I was confused. I wasn't sure if you were talking about my live events that I do because someone's been asking if I'm going back to doing those. So I was confused. But wonderful. Thank you, Pamela, for being here. Does the spirit realm know what will happen in the future? To a degree, sure. Does the spirit world know what's going to happen in the future? Yes, to a degree, yeah. But here's the thing: energy is always moving. So, and how we move with that energy is always changing that energy, right? So, how we move with the energy, the decisions that we make shift the energy. So, things are never constantly the same ever. Things you have. That's why I think you have to go through life so like just go with the flow because things are always changing. Energy is always moving and it's always going at speed. And so, so to a degree, yes, but to a degree, yes, they do. But to a degree, yes, they have given some things, but usually it's stuff that's going to be happening really soon. Like when they do share stuff, it's like somebody is pregnant and then they find out like tomorrow that they're pregnant. You know what I mean? Like it's things kind of like that. They don't typically always say things far out in the future. At least I have not found that to be the case personally. Again, but I don't like to work that way. So the spirit will maybe know that. So, I don't know. If you maybe go to somebody who's really big into predictions, maybe it'll be different. But that's not how I like to work. Does the spirit realm know? Okay. Can I get a reading in Vegas? Tammy says. Yes, you can. You can get a reading in Vegas. Yes. We'll do it in this space. Here in my home. So yes, I am doing in-person readings and I want to do something else out in Vegas. I'm trying to get my bearings here. I've been moving and then working a ton and it's just, I need to catch up. Hi, Heidi. Caitlin, hi. Hi, would you be able to do a reading in Rancho Cucamonga? Yes. Yes, of course. So I'm coming out doing a bunch of readings in person this coming week, starting Saturday. So Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, I'm doing readings in person, a bunch of group readings and in-person readings. They are all sold out. So I don't have any openings for that, but I'll be coming back in October for in-persons. If you want in-person, you can get on my book. So October is really around the corner already. Can you believe we're almost in August? It's crazy. So yes, if you want, I'll be coming back out. You can just reach out to me on email. Let's see. Thank you so much for sharing your amazing ability. Thanks. Thank you, Monica. Enjoyed this topic tonight. Good. I thought about you last weekend walking by the beach where you used to walk, and all of a sudden this dog, who looked like Zoe, came to me wagging her tail like she knew me. Aw. That's so cute. Like, maybe we could even do that with animals, right? Not just even with our loved ones. Monica, you asked if I saw my son in person or my mind's eye. It was in person right before I received the call of his passing. I have heard his voice as well. I know I have the ability. I would like to learn how to enhance it. Thank you. Okay, so Maria, another thing with my life readings, sometimes when I do life readings, I get drawn when I go into your auric field. I get guided to a certain area, and sometimes I become aware of these faculties that are kind of on the surface and ready to kind of open, and we can do a reading on that and helping you to take it to the next place. So we can make a life reading about helping you with these abilities as well. So it'd be kind of like a one-on-one where I can help teach you. And that's for anybody who is interested. When you book a reading, just in the notes, just say, I'm interested in developing my abilities, would like you to help me. So then you can do that. So we can use a life reading that way as well. It'll be about helping you in your abilities. So absolutely. So that would be under a life reading. I've always thought I would die young. Do you think that's a fear or intuition? I think you got a lot to live. I think you got a lot of life to live. So I think that's your fear. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I think. Hi, Bunny. How are you? It's been a long time. Yes. How are you, gorgeous? Say hi to your sister, too. Thank you for the input. Yes, of course, Maria. Let's see. Okay, let me see if there's anything else here. I know I have all these questions. I want to answer you guys. I have to kind of keep it, like, go quick on the, otherwise I lose it. So I have to kind of stay on that so I don't lose this. So that's why I'm kind of doing that. Okay. Let me see another question. I think Vicky asked, I think of my mom, this is last week, I think of my mom all the time, but she hasn't come in my dreams. Does this mean she's not with me anymore? No, that does not mean that at all. You know, just because you don't receive a dream from a loved one does not mean that they're not around you. What did Edgar tell me on my walk this morning? Share that the spirit world is one big window, and they're always looking into your life and watching you through this wonderful window. So know that they're always with you. And if you don't receive dreams, that doesn't mean that they're not with you. It's just maybe your loved ones don't work with dreams. Maybe that's not their thing, you know. Allow your loved ones to kind of present themselves to you, allow their presence to be known the way they want to. Maybe she doesn't want to come in dreams, you know. Maybe she has other plans in different ways. Be open to receive your mother's presence in other ways. You know what, to be honest, I don't dream hardly ever. I rarely dream. And, you know, I work with the spirit world every day, but I'm not a big dreamer. I don't dream all the time. You know, I hardly get dreams. When I, you know, the few times I do, they're kind of profound, but I really don't dream. I don't remember them at all. So does that mean that my loved ones aren't near me? Of course not. Does that mean I can't connect with the spirit world? Of course not. It just means I don't really dream a lot. Yeah, so don't worry about that. It has nothing to do with it. Your mom is always around you. So let's just be clear. Okay. All right. Have you met a loved one in spirit giving a reading that you did not like? Okay. I have met loved ones in spirit from clients that I really liked. And, you know, I met such wonderful loved ones in the spirit world that I just was crazy about, that I really enjoyed. Gosh, yes. So, no, I didn't have any that I didn't really like. I think that sometimes there's some messages that come in and it's very clear that perhaps maybe that person wasn't so kind to the client. So obviously that's hard to hear, but I love that they come forward and want to make amends with that. So, you know, so I think that's lovely for them to do that. So, no, there isn't anyone that I never liked, but there's some that I was just really liked that were just really fun. So, does that make sense? But yeah, no one that I didn't like. No, I like them all. Okay, so let me see if there's anything else. Jackie Ramos asks, can spirit hear us if we speak out loud or think about them? Yes, whenever you think about them, they step in. Sometimes you think about them because they're wanting you to think about them because they're coming in. So like they'll play a song will show up that reminds you of them. That's them doing that, you know, that's them doing that. And then you think about them and then they can feel you and then you can feel them. And there's some healing in those moments too. And so, you know, they're always trying to help you forward. So yes. Okay. Hi, Monica. Do you ever get a phrase or a song, let's say from spirit, to pass on to whoever you are reading for? Yes. So Spirit loves to work with music. They love to work with movies. They love to work with television shows. They will work with anything that's in the medium's database that will help tell their story for their loved ones. Um, I had a girl that came in, a daughter that came in for her mom, and this whole reading, her daughter was all about helping her mom forward to kind of reclaim her life again. And she gave me a song to give her mother, and it was that song. What's the name of that song? The fight song. The fight song. And it was fighting to get your life back. And it was a very profound song for the reading that she gave, because the daughter gave a really strong reading for her mom, and it was really about helping her mom get her life back. And she ended with me giving her that song. She asked me to give that song to her, and I had that song in my deck. It took me like 3 minutes to find it because it's like 1,000 songs, but I'm like, I know I had that song. And so I found it and I gave it to the mom. I told her the song, and then her mom took it. So yeah. So yes, the spirit world will. And my own guides, they gave me Calvin Harris. I feel so close to you. Whenever I would walk, because that's when I connect with my guides a lot, is when I walk. And they would just drop it in my head, drop it in my mind, think of Calvin Harris. Listen to Calvin Harris and think of me. And every time that song came, the guides came in. So they used it as a calling card for me. And it's a fun song, and it talks. And if you listen to the words of that song, it's a perfect song from a spirit guide. I'm like, dang, that's intelligent. And yeah, and I like Calvin Harris too. So that was double good. And here's the thing too, like with guides, is your guides are going to be a lot like you. You're going to have similarities. And although you come from different maybe time zones, I mean different timelines in life, but there is a similarity when your guides they share a lot of the same values and desires, and that's why you work well together. That's why I work really well with my guides, because we kind of are connected in our approach and how we see things. They like to keep things very practical and easy. I need things very practical and easy, so it works. They're very clairvoyant. I love so it works well. So anyway, so that's a whole topic on spirit guides. But anyway, yes, they do give you songs, 1,000%. I know a medium that will give almost a whole reading on songs. The spirit will just give song after song, and every song will kind of have a message for their client. So yeah, so they love songs. Spirit world love things that are creative, and music is creative. Songwriting is creative. What was that? Phil Collins, he wrote that whole song, Into the Night. He just got a guitar, and the whole song just came right through him. That song, Into the Night? That came from the spirit world. It just flowed right through, and I love that song. And when I watched a documentary on Phil Collins, that song was entirely different than what I thought that song was about. I thought it was, about somebody who drowned, and no, he goes, I don't even know what that song's about. That whole song just came right to me, like in 3 minutes I wrote that song. And I'm like, wow, it's totally spirit. Anyway, okay, so I'm going to be doing another live, but this time I want to do it on inspiration, because I love quotes and everything. So I'm going to do a live on quotes, and we're going to talk about how we can incorporate those quotes in our life. What do you think about that? Do you think that's a good idea? I thought that might be kind of fun to kind of add something different. We do the spirit stories, and we do my guidance from the guides with their letters, and we do talks on different topics. And I thought, why don't we just do one on quotes? What do you think? Do you guys like that? Because I'm thinking about, I can't do it next week because I'm traveling, but I'm going to try to make it on the week after. And then I thought that might be kind of fun to let's all get inspired, and let's inspire each other about what the quote means and how it resonates to us. And let's kind of open up that dialogue. I think that would be fun. What do you think about that? Let's see, where are we? Sarah says, so true about songs. Chicago never plays Bon Jovi. I'm the biggest fan on the radio. For weeks after my mom passed, I'll Be There For You by Bon Jovi played every single day on my way to work. I knew it was my mom. Yeah, let me tell you something. Since we're on the topic of songs, let me just kind of mention this. So when I do group readings, I always play a song. So when I do groups, I always play a song. And as I'm driving to the group, I'm always kind of thinking, like, what song do I want to play? And, I always talk about how the spirit world are a symphony and how they orchestrate these readings and how they play a large part in having, their, what they want to talk about. And they really are in charge of these readings. And so I have two examples. So when it comes to music, so I'll share this. So I was going to a group reading and I was driving to it, and I was thinking, what song am I going to play for that, group? And a song came to my mind that I have a playlist of different songs that I listen to, that I have for my group readings specifically. And this song came into my mind. And I've never played that song before, ever. I've always had it on my playlist. I've never played it, never felt right. So I turned it on as I was driving to the group reading. And I started bawling my eyes out. Let me tell you what the song is, actually. I'm going to share that with you because it might be fun. Oops, just called my husband by mistake, sorry. And this song came on. So I played this song because it's what played in my head. And it was the song... Oops, sorry, honey. It's like you called me. Okay, so it's a country song. And see, I never play it ever, but it's in my playlist. And in my mind, I heard that song. And so I listened to it. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to find it. Sorry. I have a lot of songs in here. It is... Gosh, sorry. Dang it. Oh my God, sorry. Are you kidding me? Why can't I find it? Hold on. It's a good song. My goodness. I'm sorry. Not that one. Oh, Who You'd Be Today, Kenny Chesney. So I was listening to this and I said, oh my God, this is too sad. I started crying my eyes out. Now, I understand that spirit world work with emotions. So it was probably the loved one giving me those tears. But I started crying. I'm like, I can't play the song. It's too sad. I need upbeat. I got to have high vibe. That's not going to work. I'm not going to do that. So I got to the group reading. I played a different song. And then the song comes into my head again. And I'm like, dang it. So I know I got to talk about the song. And so we're done with the group reading. And I said, can I just ask you something? Do you know this song and from Kenny Chesney? And the mom's face went like, yeah, what song? And then I said the name, and then she said, that is my song to my son. You see, the son knew that. So the son was already with me in the car, giving me the song to play for his family that I was going to. I didn't trust it because I thought, oh, it's too sad. But then he gives it to me again after the reading ends. And then it's absolutely the connection that her and her family have with their son, that song. So he wanted to lead with that song. So, and I've never played that song then, and I never played it since. But then after she said that, I said, let us just take a moment and let's play the song since I know your son wanted to play it. So then we just sat and we listened to the words after the reading was over, and we had this wonderful little session together on listening to the words of the song that the family, used to kind of finish up the reading, and I honored the son because it was the song he wanted to play, and so I honored it to him, and we played it. So it was lovely. And a second time, I go to a group reading, and this was in Orange County, and I get there, And another song I never ever play, it's on my playlist, and it's a popular song, but for some reason I never play it. And so I said, I'm going to play this song, and I never played it before, but maybe it resonates with you. I'm going to trust that it is, because I learned from the last one, right? If I get it, I'm going to play it. So I got that song, so I played it this time, and it was Supermarket Flowers from Ed Sheeran. And sure enough, not only was her mom the one that came in from Spirit, but that was the song they played at her funeral. So yes, the spirit world work with songs. Yes, the spirit world orchestrate these readings, and they navigate you as a medium, and they direct you to where they want focus to be placed. And when you can attune to them and you can feel their wishes and you honor it, it's pretty powerful, because it's powerful. And so, yeah, so that's two examples of stories of songs that the spirit world used. Yeah, so hope that was kind of fun to hear, right? So, okay, Kenny Chesney, that song breaks my heart all over again, right, Sandy? And it's like, I remember I was like bawling my eyes out, going, there's no way I'm going to put the whole family in tears. I can't do that song. I was so emotional on that song, and yet that was the song. That song is the one that connected the mom and the family with her son and their brother. So it was powerful. So, oh, hi, honey. Joe's on, my husband. Hi, honey. I accidentally called him. Then he called me back, and I didn't take the call. So now he's on here. I'll call you in a minute, honey. Okay. Anyway, so that's that. I just wanted to kind of share that a little bit. Barry Manilow's songs are my songs from Spirit. Wonderful. So know that if those are your songs from Spirit, it's also your loved ones are resonating and connecting with them as well, you know. So so just know that. And you know, I loved that moment when in that group reading that we played that Kenny Chesney song, and we just finished the reading. It was this wonderful reading, and then all of a sudden we just finished with this beautiful song, and we sat, that really just finished it all up so beautifully, and it was perfect. So anyway, look up the song Give Heaven Some Hell. Oh, Give Heaven Some Hell. What's that about, one, darling? Let's see. Give Heaven Some Hell came out after Cody passed, but so him. Okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to look that one up. I'm going to do that one for you, Sandy. I'm going to look that one up. What is it? Give Heaven Some Hell. I love that. Who's it from? Do you know who is it from, honey? Give Heaven Some Hell. If you know the artist, please let me know so I can look it up. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed tonight. I will not be on next week because I'm traveling, but I will be on the next week. And I think we're going to do like something kind of inspirational. We'll mix it up a little bit because we've done 2 weeks now on mediumship, and we'll mix it up a little bit. I think I've answered the questions. I tried my best to. I hope I did. I hope you guys enjoyed your night with me. I know I enjoyed my night with you guys. I always do. I love coming on, and I love giving you guys a better understanding about mediumship, and really letting you know that it's just so beautiful. And it's always from a place of love. Let me see, somebody else is saying, funny you should be talking about songs. My daughter passed away a few weeks ago and woke up at 2 a.m. to hearing Frank Sinatra singing New York, New York. My daughter loved Frank, but why that song? Because Frank Sinatra is known for that song, right? So it's a song. It was really more about the artist than really it is the song. Sometimes it's the artist that they want to resonate, because Frank Sinatra reminds you of your daughter, not New York, New York, but maybe in your mind, she can use New York, New York, because you know Frank Sinatra sings that song, right? So it's a way that she could work with you to get you to understand that she's here, and she uses Frank Sinatra as a way to connect you with her. Make sense? Sandy Clark, that was so my son too. Love that. I feel like it's getting harder to see. Enjoyed the session a lot. Thanks, Monica. Welcome, you guys. Wonderful so much. You guys have the most bestest weekend ever. I love you guys so much. I love coming on. Thank you so much for all your love, for your comments, for your support, for joining me on my lives. I love coming in here and being with you guys and hanging out. I can't wait to do it again. We'll be off next week, back again the following week. So that would be the 29th, I think. Yeah, I'll be back on the 29th. So next week, no, but the following week. So if you guys are around and you're in town and you can hang out with me on Facebook, come join me, okay? For any of you guys that had to come meet with me on Facebook and not on Instagram, sorry, I did not go on Instagram tonight. I was having trouble with my phone stabilizing on this freaking tripod thing. So it was just, I didn't have enough time to arrange it. So I just couldn't go on Instagram today. So if you guys had to join me here, sorry, but I'll always be on Facebook Live. So sometimes I can't always make it on Instagram. So anyway, you guys, love to you all. Have a great evening. Have a great weekend. And until next time.